It's your legal bestie, Attorney Simone, and I'm here with my girl.
Really BTV, what's up, you guys? How's everybody doing? We are on both channels, so if you are new to Really BTV, welcome. And for the people on my side, you guys know Simone. She has been here before, okay? Hey, Simone, how are you, my love?
Hey, honey. Sorry about that. I was texting one of the witnesses in the Diddy trial. I'm trying to get. Ooh. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna do a Diddy update later this evening. I gotta. How are you feeling? Hold on. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm gonna do a Diddy update a little bit later. I want to dig a little deeper into. So apparently, what's going on with Diddy right now, y'all, is it's jury selection, right? So we know that part. And jury selection has been pretty standard so far. They're basically going to spend all this week trying to pick the jury and disqualify people and get started next week. Well, apparently they're having trouble with V3, victim number three. Victim number three, basically, they don't know if she's going to show up. The judge asked the prosecutor whether or not V3 was going to come, and the prosecutor admitted and said she's not sure. And that as of right now, it's not looking like it. So apparently V3 was a woman that Diddy had dealt with all the way into 2024. And he was paying her substantial sums of money. So she might have hopped on one of them Russell Simmons type flights and got her behind over to Bali or wherever. Now, that's not lawful. You can't do that. If you have been issued a subpoena, you have to come. However, at the end of the day, if you're supposed to be a star witness for the prosecution, if you're going to pull a Kelsey, y'all remember Kelsey in in the Meg Thee Stallion trial. If you're going to do like her, and I don't remember, and it's better you don't come. It's better you don't come. So I'm going to do a little more digging into that, and we'll get into that a little more tonight. But for sure, I'm going to cover day 1 and day 2 tonight on the Diddy trial. Come back around.
Okay, well, Diddy was actually on the docket. So y'all have y'all Diddy update. It's standard procedure. They're doing, we talked about it a little bit yesterday on my channel as well. It's just standard, jury selection. They're going through the questionnaire. They're eliminating people. And I think what people have to understand, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Simone, when you're picking a jury for this type of a trial, for this type of a story, you have to understand that they're going to be the majority of your jury pool is going to be like, yeah, I know Diddy. Yeah, right. I'm familiar with Diddy. Yeah. Correct. You know what I mean? I've been to a Diddy party. I grew up to Diddy's music. Like in New York, you have to understand. So what is the line that will make a judge say, okay, no, that's too much. Like, wait, because just saying, oh, I know Diddy certainly isn't going to be enough. But what are the types of things that would get you like,
right? So what happens is, so they were given a questionnaire in advance, and I'm actually going to pull up the questionnaire on my side. I have a copy of it, and I think it was 500 jurors. 500 jurors were given the same questionnaire. It was mailed to them, and then they're required to fill it out and mail in the results or their responses. So as a result, all of the lawyers, basically, they assign generally a paralegal and a baby lawyer, like a junior lawyer, who will go through all of those responses and then put them into piles, basically mark people and be like, all right, this person, based on their response, hell no, we don't think that they could be objective. So simply knowing Diddy isn't sufficient. What it would need to be is if you feel like, based on what you know about him, you would have preconceived notions and you could not put them to the side to simply evaluate based on the facts that are presented only in the courtroom. And so yesterday, for example, there was a woman who said that she saw the video, the CNN video, and the judge asked her, do you feel like you could be impartial and put that to the side? And she said, well, that video is really damning. The judge said, all right, nope. The judge was like, we can't even risk it. So that's an example of how it'll go into both what you say. They judge if there's a lot of pauses, kind of like you're thinking, or maybe even like if you have to spend a lot of time thinking about whether or not you can be impartial, then you probably can't be impartial.
Right. Right. If you gotta think about it, yeah. I got you. I got you. So opening statements are supposed to start on Monday, right? The 12th. Isn't that Monday? Is that Monday? Yeah.
Yes,
The
Monday.
12th. So do you think that's realistic? That they'll be able to get a jury seated by Friday?
No, I don't think so. I mean, they're moving slowly. So it'll be easier to tell after the results from today. Now, I do have an article from USA Today. If I can, here, let's see. If you can share that tab, I want to read from this article, which is a synopsis of day 2 for the Diddy trial.
Okay, yeah, it's funny. That's where I wear from yesterday. So yeah, USA Today looks like they're a good place to be.
Yeah. So it says, okay. I guess start in the beginning. So it says potential jurors were questioned for a second day in the Diddy trial, sweeping federal S crimes. A high-profile case with ties across the entertainment industry that's expected to stretch on for months. The embattled mogul, who at one time was among the most powerful forces in American culture, has experienced a sharp fall from grace, facing a bevy of lawsuits and criminal charges accusing him of RNSA. Jurors were repeatedly asked if they or a family member or friend have been a victim of SA, of harassment, or of DV, and whether they or a loved one have been charged or accused of the crimes. One question was particularly interesting for some, which is, have you communicated to others, posted your opinion on social media or online, or liked any social media posts about Mr. Combs? If so, when and where did you post or state your opinion? First of all, that's a hard one. A lot of people can't remember, especially when the lawsuit first launched, in November of 2023. So I'm sure people would say what they could. And then it says, as the case continues, prosecutors also asked potential jurors about their feelings on law enforcement and experiences with the government. So there, Diddy's team probably wants people who have had negative experiences with the government and law enforcement, people who don't trust the government, who it would be easier to persuade that the government is trying to set someone up. That's what they want, as opposed to someone who, I'm 3 generations of cops in my family kind of thing. And it says, Combs' team wants potential jurors to describe the music that they like and their opinions about the hip hop and rap music industry. The defense team's proposed questionnaire also suggested that they want to know if jurors are open-minded to alternative sexual lifestyles. Jurors have been questioned one by one by Judge Subramanian, whoever he is, the prosecution and the defense to determine whether they're qualified to serve on the jury. During his final pretrial hearing on May 2nd, Combs confirmed he did turn down a potential plea deal. A judge previously rejected a request from the rapper's legal team to delay the start of the trial and he could spend life in prison. Now, he turned down the plea deal because the amount of time they offered him was so long that he's better off taking his chances with rolling the dice here. Like if they were offering him 5 years, maybe even 8 years, he might be willing to take that. But that was probably 20 years, 30 years, something like that. Now,
oh yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
It says at the end of today, by the end of proceedings today, 39 prospective jurors had faced questions, with 16 moving forward in the process, including 10 men and 6 women. That's interesting. Their ages spanned from 38 to 87. That's old. That's old for a jury set. No 21-year-olds, no 38 to 87. All them people have heard of Diddy. And maybe not the 80-year-olds, and their occupations included an American Airlines pilot, social worker, kitchen designer, physician assistant, and more. 3 mentioned liking hip hop music. Some in the group said that they get their news from the New York Times and NBC, while others cited YouTube and other social media platforms. Yep. It said you can't unring the bell. Jurors reflect on experience with the police. See what I tell y'all? What I told y'all? Experience with the police and Combs' celebrity. One of the jurors who faced the longest questioning was a man who told the court he had multiple run-ins with the police in his early teens and 20s, including what he described as stop and frisk incidents and one instance of assaulting a police officer. Oh, Diddy wants him. Diddy wants him on that jury. It says prosecutors said the man could struggle to be unbiased after negative experiences with police. But Combs's defense argued he's now 38 and has grown and changed because they want him on. It says the man said he works in New York's transit department and he often has to interact with law enforcement in his role. The judge ruled he could move forward without a bias towards the police. So I'm curious what his race was. He sounded like a black guy. Especially with the stop and frisk. I've never heard of a white man telling me he was stopped and frisked. It says another man, a pilot for American Airlines, said he was worried about being biased against Combs, but not over law enforcement. The music, LA lifestyle is very different than how I was brought up, he said, going on to describe details he had previously heard about the allegations against Combs. He said, you can't unring the bell. I can't unhear something that I've heard. Combs's team took issue with that comment, arguing that the man had seen and heard details about the case that would make him struggle to be impartial. However, the judge hit back that jurors knowing about Combs's celebrity and seeing previous media coverage of his charges is simply a part of a case this prominent. It says man was dismissed over marijuana use. One juror was dismissed after sharing that he was arrested 7 years ago for possession of weed. If I asked you not to use marijuana during the trial, would that be hard for you? The judge asked. The man responded that it would be a difficult request for the case. And the last time he used weed was the night before. Wow. After the man was just left the proceedings, Combs's defense joked in the courtroom that jurors shouldn't use marijuana during the trial. And then we've got who are Diddy's lawyers? Nicole Westmoreland of Westmoreland Law is the latest lawyer to join his team after filing a notice. I bet she's Black. I feel like I've heard that name before. I'll pull her up. And then it says Combs's defense has already been led by attorneys Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos. I could have sworn it was Terry Garagos, but whatever. Tenny Garagos, it says. Both are founding partners at the firm. Garagos is particularly experienced in defending and investigating allegations of misconduct. And Brian Still, who represented Young Thug in his RICO trial, is also working with the team, as are attorneys Alexandra Shapiro. I bet she's related to Mark Shapiro, Javier Donaldson, Anna Maria Estavo, and Jason Driscoll. Several potential, this is getting too long. We're not reading all this. It's too long. Several jurors referenced the violent video. They told the court that they'd seen the video that was talked about, the beating, the kicking, and the dragging. And lawyers for Combs had tried to exclude that video footage, as we know. His lawyers argued that it was inaccurate. All right. This must have been from yesterday. It says 6 potential jurors are selected to move forward. As the case broke for lunch, 6 potential jurors were selected to move forward out of 15 who were questioned. The other 9 were dismissed. Damn. Yeah, this is going to take a while. That means, y'all, we're in day 2 and there's only 6 potentials. These were the ones where the judge himself said, hell no. So what's going on right now is where the judge himself is saying they're too biased. Then it's going to get to a pool of people where each side is going to get, I think it's 6 strikes until they get down to 12. And those 6 can be used for anything, any reason they want, although they're not supposed to be used for any racist reason. Like you can't strike all the Black people.
Right.
Oh, Lord. It said of the ones that got sent home, several of those don't speak fluent English or had medical concerns, but others were struck for potentially being biased towards Combs. A woman says that her Catholic guilt and anxiety could impact her decision-making in the trial. As lawyers search for Diddy jurors, one was disqualified after reading a USA Today article. The search continues as lawyers on the other side attempted to weed out candidates who knew too much about the case. Potential jurors, are asked about this. The questionnaire, he said he knew he shouldn't have clicked the link. He admitted that he did anyway and spent a few minutes reading. Because the question was whether they've read about the case And one was dismissed after revealing he had read a USA Today article about the process on May 5th, which would have been yesterday.
So he read the article after the first day. Wow. So he knew he had already.
After they told him not to. Yeah, it said prosecutors argued the decision showed an inability to follow instructions, so he was struck. Yep. There we go. Okay, the rest of this I think is from yesterday. I think that's why it's so long. It's grown on yesterday. But yeah, the gist of it is, so I think what's so interesting is yesterday and today is just the judge striking people based on the judge's own opinion of whether or not they can be partial. Even as you heard, it was the guy who had 7 run-ins with the cops, but still said he'd be cool. Diddy's team fought to keep him on. He's still there, and he made it as part of the 6. So we've got 3 more days, and I think I'd say they need at least 20 to be able to strike, because each side, at least because each 20,
I think in the article yesterday that I read, it said they were trying to get 45.
45, that's what that makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't know if that was ambitious or not, but that's what I think the article said yesterday. The judge would like to get to a pool of 45.
No, that makes sense, because as they ask them more questions, some people are going to self-eliminate themselves. Plus, I envision a lot of people don't want to be on their jury.
Listen, I'm all here for jury duty. I'm not one of those people that does not want to do jury duty. But if I'm being honest, I don't know if this is the case I'd want to be on. I'm going to be honest. But I didn't know that smoking weed could get you off of a jury.
Well, I guess because it was last night. I guess, because again, this is federal court. So even though it's legal under New York state law, it's not legal under federal law. And they could argue that this person wasn't able to follow instructions, etc., because they were high. Mm-hmm.
Got you. Well, you guys, so this is our legal roundup. We're gonna do the hot spots of a lot of legal cases that have been floating around. Simone and I used to do this a lot back in the day, and then both of us got busy with life being life. But so that is our Diddy update. Listen, you guys, there's a lot of people in the chat over the two channels. So we want to take as many questions as possible, but definitely the questions that pop up, whether you're a member on my channel or on Simone's channel, those questions pop up faster. And of course, I'm not telling y'all gotta do a super chat. I don't want nobody talking about really be sick. I'm just telling you we see those faster. We have almost 500 people in here, so it runs. So over both channels we have almost 500 people.
Thanks. And Mazia J has a good question. She said, do they pick people from another state? No. So everyone is going to be from the Southern District of New York. So that's going to be Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, Bronx, those areas. It's not even upstate. It's not the Hamptons. It's not any of that. So, it's just going to be from the Southern District of New York exclusively. Not Jersey, not any of that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also, and correct me if I'm wrong on this one as well, Simone. They take it from the voter roll, right? So these are registered voters in the state.
Registered voters. Gotcha. So if you're not a registered voter, you won't ever get called up for jury duty. Yep. Oh, and before we go further, I want to let you guys know. So on my channel, which is on my website, which is SimoneRedwine.com, I'm a real lawyer. You can book a consultation with me. But more than that, what I'm really excited about is next week, May 14th, which is a Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a webinar. And the webinar is actually called, what the hell? I just had the name. Well, the webinar is for people who have thought about going to law school as a non-traditional student. So it's called It's Not Too Late, How to Start Law School as a Grown, Busy Adult. Because I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are thinking, maybe I want to go. And this can be for anyone. Like if you have, a niece, nephew, whoever, a kid who's like in their 20s, them as well. But we're going to it's a free webinar. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks. And if you're interested, I'm launching my coaching. So the coaching is going to be for law school admissions and succeeding throughout law school, as well as I'm going to also do personal coaching as well. So it's going to be super fun. You can go to my link. Yep. And you can go to my link to sign up for the webinar for free.
And her mods are dropping it all in the chat. I have it.
Yeah.
Can one of my mods on my side, can one of my mods cut and paste it and drop it in my chat as well?
Thank you
I
so
don't
much.
know. I beat a I see you're a mod on Simone's channel. I'm gonna, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
I'm gonna make you a mod on my channel. So, because you have to, so you can, and she's in both of my, she's in my chat. I know her. So I'm gonna make you a mod. If you don't mind, I'm gonna make you a mod on my channel. Can you do me a favor and go say something in my chat? I beat a so I can, so you can drop the link in my chat as well. If you don't mind, if you only want it to be temporary, I'll take it off after this live. But I want everybody to get that information. Something that I've been saying, as well, Simone, with this, and we're not going political. Thank you, baby. We're not going to go political, but what I have been saying about this current administration, now is the time, if you were ever interested in going into law, because there's getting ready to be a whole lot of work in educational law, civil rights law, labor law, immigration law. Baby, the jobs will be overflowing. So this is,
and there are ways to do it where you can keep your job. There are part-time law schools. We actually have a few actually good online law schools. I'm supposed to say good ones where you can keep your day job, and or some companies will help pay for it, etc. So there are options. Yeah. All right, let's let them know what all we got on the docket, girly. Let's let them know.
So
people
what else
are like,
we have on the docket? We are. All right. So this is what else is on the docket. So we got Diddy. We're gonna do a quick update on the turkey leg hut. Simone did a really great breakdown on her channel, but for my people, we're gonna get Simone's take on it. She's been following this case from the beginning. Part of it is because she lives down there. She has property right across the street from where the turkey leg hut was. So she's been following this. So she's gonna give us a breakdown, update on that. We're gonna just kind of talk about Shannon Sharpe, an update on her point of view and opinion on Shannon Sharpe stuff. She did a really good video on Porsha's divorce and what may or may not be going on as it relates to the divorce and Simon's legal immigration status. And then, yes, for everyone who is asking, we do have the Smokey Robinson lawsuit, and we will be covering that. We're going to do that last because that is the latest breaking story. Oh, and Wendy Williams. So we're going to hit these. We're not going to go deep dives into all of them because we want to hit everything, but we're definitely what's wrong with my camera's blurry? Give me a second. Thank you, T Lounge. Thank you, baby. But we're going to be doing a deep dive on the Smokey Robinson case. So that is the docket or the agenda for today. Thank you, guys. I'm y'all know this camera. I don't know what's going on with this camera. I'm gonna turn it off while I figure it out. I don't want y'all to be distracted from the blurriness. Y'all get distracted when it's blurry. Okay. All right. So you want to just do, you said you could do the turkey leg hut real quick. You want to do the turkey leg?
Yeah, I can do that one. Hold on. Yeah, let me pull that one up real quick.
Okay. Is that it right there? You want to put it up?
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Okay. Not that one. That one is the other one. Hold on. I'm taking it's coming up. I'm pulling it. Hold on.
No problem. Take your time.
And then y'all, somebody hit me and totaled my car this weekend. So today has been so frustrating, girl. Yes.
Oh,
yes.
No.
Yes, my Maserati, and this is not the time to be having to, get another.
I was gonna say this is not the time to have to buy a new car.
At all. Here we go. Let me add
this. This is not the time.
Okay, we got it. Hold on.
Okay, I'm going over to my chat now. I love her name. She know I love saying her name. I love saying her name. All right, I'm going over there now to make you a mod.
Okay, hold on. I think I got it. Yes. Okay, I got it. All right. So for the turkey leg hut. So turkey leg hut owner, Lynn Price and his estranged wife, they're going through this messy divorce, y'all. He has had a history of run-ins with the law. He served time in prison. While they were launching the turkey leg hut, he actually went to federal prison for about 3 years it was like tax fraud, scamming, using other people's identities, all of that. And while she was trying to get the business off the ground, as a result, when she launched the business, she didn't put him anywhere on the paperwork because you cannot get an SBA loan if one of the owners has had a felony within like 5 years. So that was a good business move. But as a result, the divorce ended up getting really messy because she banned him from the premises. She got like a restraining order. He couldn't come to the restaurant. He was trying to show up and work. And she was like, no. Apparently there was mismanagement of funds, all types of things. Well, he was recently indicted on new criminal charges because he was finally caught for allegedly blowing up a competitor bar across the street. So that bar is called Bar 5015. And I'm gonna share the video with you. Hold on. Let's see. I'm gonna share it. We'll show it while I'm telling the story.
Okay, I'm adding it now. Is that it right there?
Yeah.
Is that the right one?
Yeah, you should see it now. Uh-huh.
Okay.
No. The video. Do the video.
Okay, the video.
It should be down. Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. It's not.
It should be my first square.
Oh, duh. I got to remove that first. Duh, really be duh.
Got it. Here we go. Okay, I'm going to play this for you guys. Real quick.
Against the former Turkey Leg Hut co-owner. I'm Andy Sirota.
And I'm Lisa Hernandez. Right now, a judge is deciding whether to keep Lynn Price in custody after prosecutors shared concern that he threatened a witness or potential jurors. KPRC2's Bryce Newberry live in the newsroom after hours in the courtroom this morning. Bryce.
Yeah, Lisa and Andy, for the former Turkey Leg Hut owner, federal prosecutors say the turkeys have come home to roost.
They literally said that in court.
Turkeys come home to roost. Clean of crimes, paying off others to do the dirty work, and they want to keep him in custody. During a more than 2-hour hearing, an FBI agent testified that Price paid $1,400 to have his ex-business partner's bar 5015 blown up nearly 5 years ago. This is surveillance video from that early morning in June of 2020 when
that's what I want y'all to see. Y'all look at this.
All over the patio before that fire that then caused an explosion and destroyed the building. An indictment unsealed last week alleges that Lynn Price orchestrated this plan. The owner of that bar allegedly told FBI agents he initially planned to bring Lynn Price into that business, but then decided not to. The owner allegedly turned down a box of cash Lynn Price brought him to be part of the ownership team. And then when Bar 5015 started selling crawfish,
look at this explosion. That's how he blew it up.
The owner said Lynn Price called screaming and hollering and threatened to blow the place up. So in the past, Lynn Price went to federal prison on tax fraud related charges. Once he got out on supervised release, prosecutors allege that he's been involved in other criminal activity, including paying a co-defendant in this arson case to steal vehicles and heavy machinery. The FBI agent testified under oath that same co-defendant admitted to bringing truckloads of hydro marijuana from California that would be stored at the Turkey Leg Hut and then got sold at the restaurant in custom branded packaging. Prosecutors allege Lynn Price got the proceeds and gave some of the money to that co-defendant. And while he's not charged connected to those allegations specifically, Price's attorney argues he is not a danger to the community. He's actually helped the community after natural disasters.
Yep. So in the end, so I'm gonna freeze it there. But in the end, part of the frustration, so he's not been given any bail, which is rare for arson. So he's facing up to 20 years. But here's the legal tea of this, y'all. The legal tea is that there we go. The legal tea is that the statute of limitations for this offense was about to expire June the 12th. If he had just gotten to June 12th, he could never, ever be arrested for this offense because it's a 5-year statute of limitations. It happened June 12th of 2022.
Wow.
And what happened was his homeboy, John Price, no relation. Previously in the video, I thought they were cousins, no relation. But his homeboy lived in Mississippi and got caught trafficking drugs in Mississippi. If you go down, let me see. I have the video is John Price criminal. It's the very last document that I put down there. Crystal, if you'll put it on the screen. So his buddy John Price was caught trafficking some drugs in 2023. These right here, y'all. This man had 12,000 grams of fentanyl, Adderall pills, and I think meth. 12,000. Now, 1 gram of fentanyl will get you 5 years. This man was facing life in prison. Life. He was facing a minimum of 10 years, but life. So again, this was 2020, the end of 2023 going into 24. This guy gets arrested with all that, and baby, he gets to singing. Because everyone in the community, y'all saw that video. In the community of Houston, we all knew that this was Lynn that was behind it. And here's why. In one of my reels, I talked about how Lynn has a history of arson. In 2005, he was arrested for arson, burning up somebody's car. I believe it was an ex-girlfriend. Then, during the divorce with his ex-wife, Turkey Leg Hut was set on fire mysteriously in 2024. That happened in March. Then they were still beefing. And 3 or 4 months later, another part of Turkey Leg Hut, the extension building, also got set on fire. And then we've got 5015 across the street that just randomly exploded. Here's the thing. He didn't even try to make it look like an accidental restaurant fire, right? And a lot of people thought that the owner of 5015 did it for insurance fraud because this was during the pandemic when many restaurants were having to close. But I knew that wasn't the case because he had just done $1 million renovation. You don't do $1 million renovation and then fraudulently burn down your place. No, that was the jealousy. And y'all, when I tell you these restaurants are across the street, they're like across the street and a block over. So ultimately, Lynn was the Turkey Leg Hut owner, was upset because he was previously business partners with in launching the Turkey Leg Hut. Steve, the owner of the bar, helped him launch that. But then they got into a dispute. Lynn, they say, is very difficult to work with because he has a prison mentality. You can tell that he was born and raised in prison, allegedly. So them two get into it. Steve sues him. Steve sues him and wins approximately $1 million from him. He gets upset. He burns the place up. And now he is facing 20 years plus more. The DAs or the U.S. attorneys, because this is federal, are actually saying that they're likely going to add additional drug trafficking charges, alleging that he was selling marijuana out of the Turkey Leg Hut restaurant.
Ciao.
Mm-hmm. And he still got the divorce
1
going.
month. He had 1 month. My goodness.
That's it. So I know he's mad at that guy at the top.
Ciao.
Oh, and here. Oh, wait. This is my favorite little piece of tea. All right, put them drugs back on the screen. So this is my critical thinking. Okay. Okay. So I was like, when I was trying to figure out, I was like, how did he get caught? Like, how did he finally get caught? Because again, we all knew, but he was able to, no one told on him. Many people thought it was his wife who dropped that dime, but no. So I went and I was looking through the court records. I saw that he was arrested with the indictment had him and 2 co-conspirators. So then what did I do? I looked at the dockets for the co-conspirators. That's how I found that this guy had in 2023, 2 years prior, got caught with these drugs. Y'all look at this. So what I have here, this is the criminal complaint against John Price, the guy that I believe ratted and told on him, right? So this is the criminal complaint. It's got a whole breakdown of how the guy got caught. He was driving with the drugs, but this is the key point. This last paragraph I'm gonna read, it said, it said agents located bulk currency estimated to be 15,000 to 20,000 in the cab of the truck. And then it also said the pills were Adderall, oxycodone. And then on this prior page, it said, I think it said 12,000, the 12,000 grams. Here it is. Okay. So it says, based on the findings, Price and Barry, these are the 2 guys that were in the truck where it had all the drugs. It said they were transported to the sheriff's office narcotics division, where Price, the one who's told, was advised of his rights per Miranda, which he acknowledged and waived, agreeing to questioning. In other words, agreeing to talk. In a subsequent interview, Price denied this guy who had the drugs. He was the driver. Price denied any knowledge of the pills, but related that Barry, his passenger, would take responsibility for the possession of any pills. Barry requested a lawyer and was not interviewed. Then it says, in all, agents recovered approximately 30,000 to 50,000 pills suspected to have been manufactured with fentanyl, the total weight being approximately 12,019 grams.
My goodness.
Yeah. But so this guy, it clearly says They gave him his Miranda rights. He waived them. Not only did he waive, he waived him, was like, my boy right here is going to take responsibility. So I'm sure that he would be comfortable being like, and let me tell you what else I know to get out of this. Not even slick.
Yeah,
not even slick.
He was singing like a jaybird.
Not even. Oh, yeah. He was born and raised in prison, y'all. I'm trying to tell you, born and raised. What's his mommy had him in prison in utero? I don't know. It says Lynn sounds almost as bad as Tim Norma. So, yep, that, ladies and gentlemen, is the update on the turkey leg cut. So he's still sitting there in prison. There is no bond. He has no restaurant. He has no bond. His wife wants to leave him. He does have a girlfriend, though. And it's a whole hot mess. So what we want to do next on the docket, girl? Do we want Porsha?
Well, you want to do Porsha? Let's go ahead and get Porsha on out the way.
You sure? I feel like you had something on your mind.
I was going to say Shannon Sharpe, but it don't. Listen, it's 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other, child. 6 in one hand, half a dozen.
We can do Shannon. Okay, we'll do Shannon while people getting comfortable. Come on in there and hit this like button, whether you're watching on my channel.
Exactly.
Girl, is that legal or the other? Ooh. Either one. Here we go. Huh?
Okay.
Mine is being crazy, making noise. All right, here we go. So, Shannon, Mr. Sharpe. Shannon, Mr. Sharpe. Sorry. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I think it was echoing.
Okay.
Now I should be good. There we go. All right, you start and let me know where I need to fill in or where your questions lie, because so much has happened with that man.
Honestly, I guess for me, we've been covering it on my channel.
We got Smokey Robinson on the docket too.
Yeah, Smokey's coming, y'all. Smokey's coming. And shout out, we got like 600 people over both platforms. So make sure you're subscribed to both channels. Please hit the like button on both channels. We would appreciate it much. Now, with that being said, so the Shannon thing is this. I guess for me, my question is, do you think that we're going to be looking at potentially any sort of legal issues? Because my question is this, and I'm not questioning the alleged victim, but I am saying if this happened as recently as January, and now we're hearing these other cases coming out of the woodwork, do you think that potentially he could be looking at some criminal legal issues?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Here's why. I believe, number one, personal injury attorneys, which is what I am as well, we do not like to simultaneously have criminal and civil going at the same time, because the criminal takes precedence and it slows down us getting to the money, including at any point, like Diddy could have, for all the civil cases, asked for a stay. And what happens is you stay the civil case, meaning nothing happens until the criminal case is resolved. So that they can focus on that. Because, for example, he can't be forced to testify in the civil if the criminal is going on. So that's normal. I think with Shannon Sharpe, this was a situation of freakiness and she outsmarted him. I believe that it was BDSM. I don't remember what that stands for, y'all, but that's where your preferred way of sex is choking, pain, those things. And I say that because what's interesting here is she's claiming that there are 2 SA incidents, right? 2 assault incidents. Both of them happened only after she found out about the Michelle sex incident, which we all know was fake. Also, here's what's really interesting. Both of the alleged R's happened at her house. Happened at her house where she has cameras present. That's unusual. Most of the time, if an assailant is going to do that, they prefer to do it in an environment that they feel more comfortable with, in their car, in their house, someplace where they don't have to worry about someone walking in, this, that, and a third. I don't believe that this was criminal. I believe this was freaky and it was nasty. I also believe that when the police look at her text messages as a whole, it would be difficult for them to figure out what's going on. But what I think is going to be on that tape is some excellent role playing where she plays, I'm in pain, I'm hurting, ... And so I think you're going to, when you hear that video or the audio, when that comes out, it's going to be her basically crying and I'm in pain, breathing in pain, those kinds of things, because that's one of the ways in which people get off in BDSM. And she said, I want some rough BDSM. Also, think of it this way. This is what I really thought about is in BDSM, most couples, you have what's called a safe word. Well, why would you need a safe word if no is acceptable? Because no doesn't mean no in BDSM. No is a turn on. Like, no, daddy, no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. Like, there are some people who literally have like an R word fantasy or those kind of things. So the more you say no, the more it turns the other person on, which is why your safe word is usually something like banana boat or, something that is not sexual. That's a very deliberate decision. So it could be slave master. Yes, he could be the slave master and she could be, the woman in the house, whichever. So I think that his problem is going to mess his reputation up because it's just so dumb and he's so much older and people expect him to have better judgment, especially working on a Disney owned network like ESPN. But I think that there was no police report done. There was none of that. I don't think it ever would be. I think this is simply her lining up that money. But also, he really should have known better because 4 times he asked her to sign a non-disclosure and she refused. And just 2 years when he first started dating her in 2023, the crazy girl, Michelle Bundy Evans, filed a lawsuit against him claiming assault as well. So that was the first woman who filed. Now, allegedly, there's 2 other incidents. There was one where there was a woman, I think like around 1998, Caucasian, probably, was at his house. He gets sick of her. He tells her to leave. She won't leave. He literally picks her up off the ground and he puts her outside his door. She calls the police and he gets arrested. That's what you get. That's what you get. And I want to say it was in Georgia or something like that. So that was an arrest that he had. And then he has an alleged incident at Fox where there was some issue with the producer. One version is that he choked her or that there was playfulness going on that was inappropriate and that Fox settled it. His attorneys say, no, it didn't happen. So take that as you want. But I'm just here to say 100% the woman, Michelle, who's running around doing interviews with Tasha K and everything, that woman is loony fucking toony. Believe nothing that she says. Hold on. I got to put it on the screen because she's that nuts. This woman, and here's the reason people are like, oh, you're victim blaming. No, I know stupid when I see it. So this woman is a whole nut bucket. I say that because she claimed that she was in a relationship with Shannon, Michelle, through 2010. And then she files so she had some allegations against him then. But then she filed a lawsuit against him in 2023, 13 years later. Statute of limitations has absolutely passed. But when she files it against him, where is she? In prison for trying to kill her husband. So Michelle literally is in prison for trying to kill her husband. And the biggest way she's a loony fucking tuner is because she couldn't get no lawyer to represent her. Excuse me, if this really happened to you and you're going against Shannon Sharpe, somebody, Tyrone Blackburn, somebody is going to take your case. If even Tyrone don't want it, it's you. It's you. You're the nut. If you could put this final one on the screen, I want to read y'all just an excerpt from this nut bucket. Sure. From the nut bucket. Now, someone has made a good point. They said, well, Cassie did not file a police report either. You know what, Glam Girl, you are so right. And many people don't. And in Cassie's case, she tried to, but the evidence that she needed, which was that hotel footage, it went away. But you're right. I don't just simply the fact that you didn't do the police report for me, I agree, it doesn't end the inquiry. Here's what did for me and Gabby. Gabby is the OnlyFans girl. So this is Michelle, but let me just say about Gabby. The issue with Gabby is if somebody R's me, if somebody essays me in October, I'm not inviting you over for sex to my house ever again. I'm not inviting you to my house ever again. I'm not texting you about sex. I'm not texting you about, I'm going to charge you $25,000 per butt cheek. I am never sleeping with you again if you've done that. And I've heard people say, well, some people still, you still communicate with the person after. Maybe if they're your family, these are two people who live in different cities at this point. She had no reason to be near him. He had no reason to be near her. I find it interesting that she claims he R'd her in October. She continued to talk to him, have sex with him, interactions with him, set up sex with him all the way through. That's not believable for a grown woman who doesn't have to deal with him. And so that is why I think police would have difficulty with the Gabby girl's accusations. But here's the crazy girl. Michelle is claiming defamation libel. Then she said, look how she wrote it. Now, she clearly wrote this from a jail cell. She says, in the month of September 2010, the presence of the defendant was noted within my residential abode. At that juncture, we had been engaged in an intimate relationship of considerable duration. Nearing a decade, a dispute had arisen, provoked by my recent and unsettling revelation that Shannon had clandestinely introduced another woman into his domicile. A fact which he deliberately concealed from me. Aside, it says, amidst this contentious exchange, Shannon expressed a desire to engage in sexual relations. My response was unequivocally negative, articulated by no, because you gave it to someone else. That's how she writes this whole thing this whole time. It's like a really bad, homemade sex novel. And she just keeps refiling the same thing all the time. And what happened to her was it was in 2010. She needed to file that lawsuit by 2012. She filed it 13 years too late. She needs to have a good day. That's that. I'm sorry, Michelle. She's going to do all the interviews. So if any YouTuber out there, you want to get an interview, go and talk to Michelle. She wants some attention.
Mm-hmm. The other thing is something you said, and we actually said it on my channel as well. What I think will be, because I agree with what you're saying. I think that tape that Shannon Sharpe spoke of when he was like, show the whole 10 minutes, because I think he knows that if the whole tape is shown, it'll show that this was a role play or this is something that they did. But what I think will be interesting, going back to what you said about the safe word, and we said this on my channel when we talked about it, what'll be interesting is if in that tape, did she use the safe word? Because, if the safe word is banana, did she, because you're right, if they're into role play and that's kind of what they did, then her saying no may not be the same as me saying no or you saying no. However, if she used the safe word and he kept going, now we're talking about a different conversation. And I'm going to say this, and this is my opinion, and you give me your legal opinion on that. The fact that they knew about the tape. Now, he claims he never watched it, which to me is stupid, but whatever. Right. They knew about the tape and they were willing to put $10 million on the table. Makes me think that tape doesn't exonerate him as much as they might want us to think it does. And I'm not saying that automatically makes him guilty. I wasn't there. I don't know. But I'm wondering, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. So here's what I think it is. Now that I found and reviewed the Michelle lawsuit from front to back, what I think is this. When Michelle filed that piece of crap complaint that I just read from you, where she's clearly loony fucking toony, he still was required to step down from his job at the time, I think he was at Fox. They suspended him. So, and then it was not until it got dismissed or somebody read it and were like, oh, this bitch is crazy. She's in prison for literally trying to kill her husband. We can't, take her word for it.
was when he got his job back. I think from that experience, he was like, oh no, I can't risk it. Because if Miss Crazy got me suspended, then I know this woman who's got different audio of me talking about choking and this other sexual stuff, particularly while he has $100 million podcasting deal on the table. He's like, no, I'm going to give you this 10. And if we're going to claim blackmail or something else later, we'll do that after I get my check. And if he were my client, that would be the course of action I would advise as well. Because the problem he's got is because he just had one of these in 2023 with his job. They're going to be like, God damn it, nigga, again. I'm sorry. God damn it, color boy, again.
Got it. I got you. I hear you. Okay, well, listen, you guys. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I also think he referenced the tape because he knew that it was going to get released. So he knew that that was going to happen. But I have to say, his lawyers need to shut up. They're not doing a good job. He needs to hire a PR team, and the lawyer, that old man, needs to zip it. Because there is no way in hell I would have ever admitted that my client offered somebody $10 million. Why in the would you say that? Why? If his lawyer would have kept that to himself, people would have just thought Tony Busby was lying. Because Tony's words were, he offered a substantial sum. Well, hell, we're poor regular people. I don't know. Is that substantial? 1 million, 2 million? I don't know. But for his own lawyer to be like, yeah, it was in the tens of millions. Shut the fuck off. Shut up. Zip it. That's my problem.
I didn't understand that from the very beginning. Even with them releasing the text messages and all of that, like I didn't go to nobody's law school, but I was like, I don't understand why they're doing this. But it is what it is, child. They done it now. All right, y'all. So that is Shannon Sharpe. So let's move on over to Porsha. Now you gave a really good breakdown on Porsha's divorce and what could or could not be happening as it relates to Porsha Williams go body down to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Tell the people what's going on.
All right, so with Porsha, y'all, ICE just will not let her be great. ICE will not let her get a divorce. What I mean by that is they were supposed to have their divorce hearing February 25th, but he was arrested. I say arrested, not detained, because that is a federal prison. It is not a nice place. He was arrested February 19th. So he missed that. They rescheduled it for April 30th. However, his lawyer asked for what's called a continuance, which means, Your Honor, can we reschedule this? Because that was supposed to be the final hearing. It was supposed to be a hearing to, number one, determine whether or not the court would enforce the prenup. And if they were not going to enforce the prenup, to have a final trial to decide who's going to get what and how much. Well, oh boy, at ICE does not let them go to court. ICE does it. So the judge thought he could set it via Zoom. No, ICE does not even let them access Zoom. The only thing they're allowed to do is they get access to a computer to communicate with their attorney. But the computer does not allow them to communicate with judges or court or any of that. So the only way for him to participate is for the judge to sign an order stating for him to attend that hearing. And it has to be well enough in advance. And he's 2 hours away each way. So then ICE would have to transport him. And so right now, and their biggest argument is this, y'all. He is trying with all his gosh darn might to invalidate the prenup. The two main grounds he has are that, number one, Porsha went back to work and that he would have never agreed to a prenup if she was going to be working, and that the agreement was she was not going to be on TV. She was just going to be a housewife. Now, you sound stupid because these two people, pursuant to the documents, negotiated this prenup through their lawyers for an entire year. A year. They started in 2023 in 22, whatever it was a year, whatever the year. And so the judge is like, but you met her when she was on TV. And it wasn't like, and then when she stopped doing the show, Real Housewives, it's my understanding, didn't invite her back, / she chose not to come back, whatever the hell. But she didn't go back to that or Dish Nation. when they first started dating seriously or whatever. Well, it was a month in that it was serious. So the argument is she wasn't working at the time y'all got together. It wasn't a I'm quitting for you. But more importantly, if that was a correct criteria, you should have put it in the document, stupid. It's nowhere in there. And then his second, which I think is a more persuasive argument to try to invalidate the prenup. And before I tell you the second one, here's why invalidating the prenup matters. According to the prenup, they didn't attach all the documents to say exactly what she gets, but she's entitled to a very substantial cash payment. Also, the prenup said that if either party were to file for divorce, she gets to stay in the house through the pendency of the divorce, and he has to pay all the bills for the house. And sold 2 houses to get the $2.4 million down payment to buy that house, which is $7 million. She would get at least half of the equity in that house. So his position is, oh, hell no, Your Honor. We were only married for 15 months. So in other words, for 15 months of marriage, Porsha could walk away with at least $3.5 million in equity from the house, plus whatever cash lump sum he has to give her.
Yeah, but he signed
Child.
it. I mean, he signed the
He
prenup.
signed it. And here's the key numbers. So when you do a prenup, both sides have to share their financials. You have to give full disclosure. Otherwise, it's not valid. Like if you really have more money than you say, it's not considered valid because maybe the person would have negotiated to get more. Well, at the time of the prenup, she made approximately $4 million. He made $300 million. $300 million, according to what he's telling her. But see, here's the thing. I don't think he got that money anymore. I think part of the reason why he's fighting so hard is because he doesn't want people to know he ain't got it. And I don't think he has it in readily available cash. He may have it in assets. He may have it in some African oil over there. But I don't think he could just walk into a bank because he's got a judgment of $900,000 against him from a private plane company and other companies.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think
none of his accounts were frozen yet.
It was really worth it. I think he was able to make it, like you said. I think it was built on a house of cards. I think he was able to show maybe assets that could have possibly, because isn't some of his wealth connected to family money over in Africa?
Yes,
over in
petroleum
Nigeria?
in Nigeria, allegedly.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever him. I think he was able to make it look good enough to pass the smell test. But I don't know if he ever was worth $300 million. But that's just me. I don't know.
No, that's true. Well, also, when you go to negotiate your prenup, no one ever assumes that the guy is going to lie and say he has more money. It's usually the opposite. They hide assets. Like it was alleged with Jeezy, he hid assets, right? So it would be very easy for Simon to lie and be like, yep, I'm worth $300 million, and in turn sign something that he doesn't think he's ever going to have to effectuate because in his mind, they're going to be together forever. He would probably use her for citizenship. I do believe that. But the second ground that's important that he's trying to use to invalidate the prenup, which I feel is more persuasive, is that they have a confidentiality provision in the prenup. And in that, it says that neither person is allowed to do interviews or share any information or talk about the other in a negative or disparaging way without the other's prior written consent. So his claim is her going on the Breakfast Club and talking about him and going on all these different places, social media and other things, saying negative things about him breaches it, as well as there's a provision that says you cannot record the home or the office of the other person. Remember, he didn't want the show recording at his home.
Right.
So his claim is that she violated by doing those things, and that therefore it should be invalid. I don't think a judge is going to invalidate it. I think a judge, if anything, would be like, all right, so she recorded in your house. What harm was it to you? It's not like you had your Ash Away spray or your Rogaine on the kitchen counter, that got in the shot, or your, Cialis, or your, your dick pills.
Right.
Visible. Right. Because that's truly the purpose of that kind of confidentiality, is don't have my dick pills out. But he was also throwing jabs at her too. So
I was going to say, and if I'm being fair, he actually started. He started making negative comments first. He really started it. She eventually threw some jabs, but in all reality, he started it. And that sounds so elementary by saying that. He started it, but he really did. I mean, she filed for divorce and she really was quiet because everybody wanted, people like me, bloggers like me, we wanted to know, girl, y'all were just posting in Dubai for Valentine's Day, living your best life, posting about how much in love y'all were, and literally 4 days later, you filed for divorce. We wanted to know, and she honestly wasn't saying anything at first. He was.
I agree.
That was being real petty.
He's always real petty. I'll just never forget when they had when it was the. Oh yeah, when he had the TV show, yeah, him getting with her while married to Fallon was definitely a petty move, number one. But I will never forget that. Oh shit, let me make sure I made it there. On the show, it was the show that she had with her family, and there's a part on there like with that show or whenever it was airing, whatever. She had told him, "Hey, I don't want you to take any photos of me and post them without my permission. Just always ask me." This was towards the beginning of their relationship when they got engaged. I will never forget. The two of them got in a spat. They were mad at each other. She was mad at him for something. This dude posted a photo of her having a tattoo of his name behind her ear. And she was upset because she was like, you promised me you wouldn't do that. Because it's one thing to violate it, but it's a whole nother thing to violate it while you know I'm mad at you. That was just low down dirty. When that happened, I was like, oh no, he's gonna be petty. He's gonna get that lady hell.
And if people remember when the whole thing went down, when the whole situation went down, he was petty with Fallon. If you guys remember when the blogs were tearing Porsha up about stealing that man's husband, he posted ring camera footage of Fallon and the assistant that she is married to now, basically saying she cheated first, she's cheating on me. And he literally posted the ring camera footage of the dude coming over to the house like at 2:00 in the morning or something.
Wow.
Because at the time, I think he was there. He worked for them as the assistant or something.
Yeah.
And so my thing was, again, Porsha, he showed you who he was. It's just that when
Literally.
it was somebody else, right? When it was somebody else, it wasn't an issue. So now that he's doing it with you, now the other thing you brought up, which also sort of they got back together, Erica. They done got married, child. They done got married. They broke up, but they back together. Unless they just broke up recently, but they had gotten back together. I think they even ended up getting married.
Wait a minute. Do you know? I don't know right now, but he was working at a jump park like in the last year. He was working at a jump park, like a kids' play park. Not owning it. He was working. I mean, I love a good, honest living, but yeah, Fallon, I don't know what she was thinking.
She even posted about being pregnant, and because they did break up, but they got married, and she pregnant again or haven't got a child. They got a whole thing. The other thing I think is interesting that you said, which was sort of a contradiction again for people who remembered. Not he married to Manny, but people who remember when all this stuff first went down. I said this on my channel that it seemed like Porsha was quitting all of her jobs, and I said, I wonder if this is an agreement they came to, because she did quit the Real Housewives. She did quit Dish Nation, but then she did the spinoff, which he was very much a part of. He filmed scenes.
He loved
every
that
episode. So I find it interesting that now he's saying, oh, well, she agreed not to work. When, sir, y'all filmed a whole spinoff that you were very much a part of. You filmed, You were in every episode. So I found that to be interesting.
He a damn lie. He a damn lie.
Okay, so let's get into I guess we'll hit Wendy Williams. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what order did you want those to?
Well, I think we only had one more left. We have Wendy Williams before we get to Smokey Robinson. Was that it?
Yeah.
I think. Okay,
Yeah.
so let's hit Wendy Williams, and then we're gonna. I know a lot of y'all been waiting on Smokey. We're gonna do Smokey last, but let's get into Wendy Williams, the Wendy Williams of it all. So break it down for me. What is going on now? Not break it down for me. Let's talk about. Now I'm gonna say this now. Now, Simone, I don't pat myself on the back a lot, but I'm gonna pat you on the back and us together, because we did a video probably 2 years ago now where you broke down when Wendy first was put under the conservatorship, and everybody was asking, oh my goodness, why, how can somebody at the bank do that? How could this happen? And you broke down almost exactly what we found out when TMZ did their documentary, and it came out about the son, and it came out about somebody called the bank, and the bank. Almost everything you said came to pass. So I'm going to pat you on the back, because we did that video together. I remember you breaking it down, and you were really one of the few people at the time that I'm gonna say only child. I'm gonna say only. Somebody fight me. I'm gonna say, but at the time, you were one of the only people that was really digging deep into how this could happen. How can somebody at a bank have that much power? But now, you know, fast forward 2 years later, we're finding out that the son was allegedly having somebody impersonate her. Now, we thought it was the husband. Remember, we thought it
we did.
Come to find out, but I think the husband was behind it. But
I do too. He was like, "Go get this money and bring it to your daddy."
Exactly. They even went so far as to have a woman allegedly impersonating Wendy. And now, what's up, Auntie? Hey, boo. That's my girl right there. Auntie's advice. Also, come to find out, last week or the week before last, these doctor's notes have surfaced. Now, the one doctor's note that looks like somebody made it in their computer lab at their high school. Remember back in the day when you had the computer lab at the high school, at the school?
Girl, yes.
And they printed it out themselves. Allegedly, that is what it looked like. Come to find out, that doctor was paid $60,000 over a 2 month period where he allegedly had been seeing Wendy for XYZ amount of years, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to read you guys the letter. We went over it on my channel, but I'm going to read you what the letter said. I don't know. I didn't upload it. I'm sorry. I think I still have it somewhere. But this letter says, to Lori Schiller. Now, we know that Lori Schiller is the conservator.
No, Lori Schiller was the Wells Fargo lady.
Wells Fargo. I'm sorry. She's the lady from Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
It says, to Lori Schiller, Wells Fargo Bank, R.E. Wendy Williams. Now, the date is January the 20th of 2022. That's important. It says, dear Miss Schiller, Miss Williams has been my patient for over a year now. Over the last 6 months, she has been unable to make reasoned decisions, and her insight and judgment are severely impaired. Sincerely, Dr. Rami Kaminsky, MD. And that is literally all it says. There is a basic letterhead here, the Institute of Integrative Psychiatry, and that is all that this letter says. Now, what we also found out is that from the month of November, December, and January, he received a total amount of $60,000, which, by the way, all that money came out of Wendy Williams' account. Wendy said, "I don't know this man. I don't know this man." She has posted where she filed a HIPAA complaint against him, and this HIPAA complaint is dated March the 14th of 2022. Most of it is redacted. I'm sorry, you guys. I didn't upload it.
Okay.
Most of it is redacted, but I'm just going to read you a little bit of what she did write on here. This is the response. She has a receipt number and everything. So this is what she got in response. Thank you for contacting the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office, which enforces federal civil rights laws which prohibit discrimination in the delivery of health and human services based on race, color, blah, 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 blah. It says, we are in the process of reviewing your correspondence. We will complete our initial review as quickly as possible. And then it says, if you have any questions, this was during, it said, you know, it has information on here about COVID. And then she also posted her original, like a copy of her original complaint, which again, a lot of that is redacted. Wendy then also posted the letter from her actual doctor, which looks very different.
Yes.
And this letter is dated February the 18th of 2022. And this letter says, to whom it may concern. This letter is in regards to patient Wendy Hunter, which I find that to be interesting, that this doctor actually used her married name instead of her stage name.
Good point.
And it has her date of birth on here. It says, who is currently under my care. After comprehensive neurologic examination and testing, I have determined that Wendy has a mild cognitive impairment. Wendy has started on medication immediately for this, and we expect significant improvement with the medication. At this time, Wendy has the full capacity for medical decision making and personal decision making. Wendy is not a financial expert, but has the full capacity to appoint someone on her behalf to handle her finances and business decisions. Going against her wishes in any shape or form is a serious matter. And then this is signed, sincerely, Joseph Gergis. And this person goes on to list all of their degrees: their MD, FACP, CPE, MBA, Master Faculty Professor of Medicine, Superior Medical Centers. And this was, like I said, this was written on February the 18th. This is the person that Wendy says is her actual doctor. And he is out of Florida, which we know is where Wendy had been living for a time. So I'm not saying that any of this is a slam dunk one way or the other, but I do find it interesting. And it does sound like Wendy was fighting this even going back to 2022. So I know you just got this information. I just shared this with you earlier today.
No,
but your initial response, your initial thoughts.
So my initial thought is this. If you look at the two letters, the one that was the bare bones letter, that letter was written to Wells Fargo. That sounds to be a doctor who did not know Wendy. It just says it says she's been a patient for over a year. Over the last 6 months, right. She's been unable to make reasoned decisions. The purpose of that letter was to support Lori in Wells Fargo in their decision to solicit a guardianship. So it's going to be for two different purposes. It's no different than when I am working on an auto accident case and I'm looking for a doctor. If I'm on the prosecution side, I'm only going to call the doctor that says my client was injured by this accident to this extent, right? Versus if I'm on the other side, I'm going to find a doctor that said, it wasn't because of that, you were already injured. So here, what it appears is that the Wells Fargo woman, and she very likely would have been able or could have been able to find this doctor through combing through the financial statements, seeing, who's the doctor that Wendy has been going to consisting for the last year. Then speaking to that doctor and saying, hey, this is our concern. This is what we've experienced. Would you be willing to write a letter? That letter is so bare bones. I know that doctor is not an expert. They're not They're not a testifying expert because it would have had way more in there. That doctor literally was like, I don't want to be in this, but yeah, I think something's wrong, and wrote those 2 lines and went on his way.
And the other thing, and I did find the article. I'm going to pull up the article now. It was on newsbreak.com where Wendy said basically that $60,000 was paid to him. And she basically, without her knowledge or her consent, and that $60,000 was paid in a short window. Again, I know you hire experts all the time. Is that something that will be comparable, that he would get a $60,000 payday to write that letter to support what the bank?
No.
Okay.
You have to understand that as Wendy is saying these things, this is based on her understanding, and she doesn't have a full and complete and thorough understanding. It would be Medicare fraud for this man to charge $60K for 2 months worth of treatment of any kind that was not inpatient. Now, however, though, I have this document here. If you can put up, it says slide 3 on my side. It is it's a document it's one of Wendy's documents. So it would be the 4th document that I uploaded. Is it 4th? Hold on.
I think this is slide 3. Is
All
that
right.
the right one?
This is correct. Yeah. So this is a document.
Okay.
This is a summary of Wendy's facts that goes into her health stuff and that I found really interesting. It says and this comes from one of the motions in the lawsuit against A&E. It says in or around January of 2019, in the wake of devastating news that her husband and business partner had fathered a child with another woman, she took a 6-week leave from her show to seek care at a rehab facility. During that stay, her son and then husband were reportedly told by treating healthcare professionals that she was suffering from brain damage. So the first time anybody heard about that was in 2019. The citation is this article down on the footnote. And then we go into it further. It says, as early as 2021, press reports attributed these changes to early onset dementia. And by the fall of 21, Wendy was no longer able to appear on her talk show due to her cognitive impairment and continuing decline. By late 21, now remember, these disputing doctors' reports would have been 2 months later. They were February and March of 22. It says by late 21, Wendy was so cognitively impaired, she had lost so much executive capability, she no longer was capable of managing her own personal and business affairs. She spent months with her family towards the end of 21 into early 22, but in May of 23 was when she was diagnosed by doctors at Weill Cornell Medical Center. That is supposed to be one of the best in the world of frontotemporal lobe dementia and progressive PPA, progressive asphyxia. And then it later says by January of 2022. So this is when those 2 letters were written, right? By January of 22, Wells Fargo employees had documented a pattern of unusual and disturbing events concerning her welfare and finances, which led them to fear she had already been taken advantage of and would be the subject of financial abuse in the future. So that January 22, I guess I would say that January of 22 is when I wouldn't count on her word or her description of that, because that was when she was really in the height of her dementia because she was drinking so much. Now, I feel once she stopped drinking, it got much, much, much better. But it was very clear that when she was recording that documentary for Lifetime, that lady couldn't take care of herself. And that would have been...
she was high as Cooter Brown.
Yeah, that was this 2022 period.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the differential is that one of the doctors was her choice, and the other one was the Wells Fargo. Somebody from Wells Fargo went to that doctor and said, listen, we need this for this guardianship motion. Do you agree? Now, I'll say this. Doctors are not just going to write it. They do have to feel that they agree, because doctors want nothing to do with litigation. For them, it's too close to being part of a medical malpractice. They don't want nothing to do with that. Plus, it doesn't pay them. So I firmly don't believe that he was paid $60K for 2 months. It may have been a whole year's worth of treatment, but I don't see that. Someone says, how come this was never released to the family? They keep saying she was never properly diagnosed. I agree because Weill Cornell, those doctors, I think part of what it is when you're in a guardianship, what's tricky is they don't feel they have to release things to your family, because the guardianship is actually private, which is why all the documents are sealed. And then they really can't tell your relatives certain things, because the only 2 people in the case are the ward and the guardian and the judge. So in other words, like it would almost be like the judge would need to appoint a family member where she has the authority to share facts with that person, because otherwise it would be a HIPAA violation, even telling stuff to her niece, right? Because at this time, she can't even sign a consent release because it hasn't been declared that she's able to consent anymore. It's so tricky.
Got you.
Mm-hmm.
So in your, and again, I'm not asking you as a lawyer per se, because I know that, you know, you don't have all of the information, but based on what's been released publicly, what do you think that Wendy will be successful in getting from under this conservator, or do you think that this is?
So here's the problem that we have now. So as part of the A&E lawsuit, you know, Wendy was like, I don't want to bring this suit. I don't want to bring this suit. And I know that a portion of it is because she wants to work with Lifetime as she gets better. And as we've seen from Nene, you can't work with a network while you're suing a network. So she was saying, I don't want to pursue this lawsuit. Well, Sabrina Massey, the guardian, then told the court, listen, if she thinks she's okay and that she can consent, we'll drop the lawsuit. But I can't do that in good conscience until we get her tested to confirm that she can consent, that she's okay. That testing was court ordered to happen in March. Wendy did not show up.
Oh,
yeah,
got it.
So the problem, and it was two very specific types of tests. Hold on, I think I wrote down what they were. And it was, because remember, Wendy she dropped the note on the window that said, help me. And then they got her and they took her into some hospital. When that was done, she basically got the evaluation. And that was around the time that Sabrina was like, okay, if you think you're okay, let's get an evaluation. Here's what they said. Sabrina says, medical testing, including an MRI brain scan and neuropsychological assessment, had been scheduled for Miss Williams. The court directed the testing has declined to participate in the testing to date, and therefore it was not completed. The parties are not able to address the concerns that have been expressed to the media without this testing. Because the one test that she did that she liked, that Wendy was like, I got a 10 out of 10. That's the test that, like, after you get a concussion, they give you to make sure you know what day it is. They'll ask you, what day is it? How many fingers do I have up? Who is our president?
Okay.
It's those kind of things to see if you've got a concussion. It's not, those questions don't mean you can handle your own money and you can handle your other things. So really what has to happen is Wendy has to go get this test. My guess, my educated hypothesis, and people are like, you shouldn't be shut up. I'm a lawyer. This is what I do. Under the law, my guess would be her family doesn't feel comfortable with the doctor or whoever was going to be giving her the testing. They may want an independent medical professional to do the testing. And I can totally understand that. So if that's the case, they need to get some motions flying. Joe Tacopino is supposed to be representing her and stuff. Joe, get on there, file some motions. What we do, they can handle it the same way we do in mediation. When we're getting ready to go to a mediation, both sides, each side proposes 3 names. And someone will say, I want this 3. The other say, I want these 3. And you come to an agreement. So Joe can do that and say, these are 3 doctors we're cool with. The guardian, or tell the guardian, these are 3 we're cool with, pick one from them.
Now that's a good question. Yep. Somebody in the chat said, how do we know that Wendy didn't show up on her own? Like, how do we know that that the facility where she's staying didn't prevent her from showing up? I mean, is that a viable?
That absolutely could be the case too. They just need, and this may have already been done because those proceedings are sealed. Her side just needs to file a motion saying any of the above. And I did. Hold on.
She actually does have a very good attorney now.
Yes. You talking about the Joe Tacopino guy?
Yeah, she has a very good. So if there is something like that, I mean, she does have a really good attorney now. Whereas before, so yeah, she has the guy from in that ASAP Rocky's attorney.
Yeah.
She has. Yeah.
Correct. And this isn't his thing, but I don't care. He's a brilliant lawyer. And sometimes it's good to get fresh meat in there because they're going to be able to get in there and be like, wait, this don't even seem right. This don't even sound right, and get in there and get it done.
Gotcha.
Because I feel like at this point, if nothing else, at least let her select a different guardian. Because at this point, it seems like communication and everything with Sabrina Massey has broken down. Replace her with someone that like Wendy can say, these are 3 other people I trust. One could be a relative. They could be 2 other professionals, whatever. But get Sabrina out there at this point, out of there.
Yeah. All right, you guys. So that is the latest on Wendy Williams. And again, we're hitting it and we're hitting and quitting because I know y'all all wanted us to get to this last case, which is the Smokey Robinson of it all. Now, baby, Smokey. Now, listen. For the last 2 years, we are very familiar with these types of lawsuits. Smokey has been hit with one today. Well, it hit the blogs today. And Simone was able to pull the lawsuit before we went live. So tell us what's going on, Simone. Tell us what's going on.
Girl, so this man has been accused of all kind of nastiness in his old ass age. He's 80-something years old, okay? Now, he look kind of nasty and scammy. Like, he looked like one of them sugar daddies who'll give you money to, like, touch his private that feels like jelly. You could go ahead and put it up. It's the last document here. We're going to put it on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, so Smokey has been, move this to the side. He has been sued in civil court by 4 different ladies. There are 4 Jane Does. This is in California Civil Code. He's accused of negligence, battery, assault, false imprisonment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligent infliction of emotional distress, gender violence, the Ralph Act, I don't know what that is, the Bain Act, hostile work environment, constructive discharge in violation of the law, failure to pay minimum wage, failure to pay overtime, incorrect wage statements, failure to provide rest periods, failure to provide meal periods. All right.
Dang.
We gonna hop to the facts.
Yeah, to the nitty gritty. All y'all care about is the facts. Y'all don't care about jurisdiction. Y'all want to get to the nitty gritty.
Show down. Show down. And it's not super long here. All right. So what we got? Plaintiff Jane Doe realleges and incorporates blah, blah, blah. So these are basically his employees. These are people that work for him. It says Jane Doe began working for him as his housekeeper at their Chatsworth residence on January 3rd of 2023 until February of 24, when she was forced to resign due to defendant Smokey Robinson's repeated sexual assaults and sexual harassment against her. The first one occurred March of 23 and continued until her forced resignation in February of 24. So that was a year. She worked on the weekends for the defendants when the rest of the staff was off. On a typical Saturday, defendant Smokey would take defendant Frances Robinson, his wife, to the nail salon and would rush home, knowing that he would be home alone with the plaintiff. Hold on. Can you move mine? Let me see. Okay. Rush home with the plaintiff. Okay. Upon returning home, upon returning home, Robinson would call her into his blue bedroom, lock the door, and escort their dog Shiloh out of the room. He will have showered and clothed only in his undies. He would then neatly place a white towel on the bed, not to soil the bed linens, in preparation for what was about to occur. This is so gross. Smokey Robinson would then begin to kiss her in the mouth, neck, and boobies. Then he would roughly penetrate her, the jiggle-jaggle with his fingers, orally help her out, and proceed to penetrate her buttercup with his erect bottom part, causing her great pain. He must have been on that Cialis. They should sue Cialis too. Let me just confirm, hold on, who all the defendants are. We know it's Smokey, Smokey and his wife. Okay. And then unnamed parties. Okay, that's really strange. All right. It said Smokey enjoyed ejaculating in her vajiggle-jaggle without using protection. She would protest and resist his sexual assaults, but to no avail. In a desperate attempt to get him to stop these assaults, she would proclaim, "You're married," to which he would casually ignore. Smokey Robinson sexually assaulted her in that manner at least 7 times. The last one occurred February 17th of 2024, prompting her forced resignation on the 24th. She was unwilling to report his unlawful acts to the authorities due to her fear of losing her livelihood, familial reprisal, public embarrassment, shame, and humiliation to her and her family, and the possible adverse effect on her immigration status. I was about to say that. She was probably an immigrant, as well as being threatened and intimidated by his well-recognized celebrity status and his influential friends and associates. Then, this is his wife, defendant Frances Robinson, failed to take the appropriate corrective action to prevent his deviance. To prevent his deviant misconduct against her, despite having full knowledge of the prior acts of S misconduct, having settled cases with other women that suffered and experienced similar sexual assaults perpetrated by him. Defendant Frances, the wife, also perpetrated a hostile work environment by regularly screaming at the victim in a hostile manner, using ethnically pejorative words and language, racial slurs. During her employment with the defendant, she worked 10 hours a day, 3 days a week, Saturday to Monday, at a rate of $18 an hour. They failed to pay minimum wage or overtime for the hours worked in excess of 8 hours, nor provided rest or lunch breaks. She would often work holidays for the defendants without being paid the holiday rate. Defendants also failed to provide her wage statements for the hours worked. Next is plaintiff Jane Doe 2. She realleges and incorporates everything else that was written or whatever in the prior paragraphs. Okay. Jane Doe 2 began working for him as a housekeeper at their residence, Chatsworth residence, in or about May 2014 until February 2020. Dang, that was 5 years ago, when she was forced to resign due to defendant Smokey Robinson's repeated S assaults and S harassment against her. Smokey Robinson's brutal S advances were constant and even predictable throughout her employment with defendants. Defendant Smokey Robinson's S assaults began in the later part of 2016. When they were home alone, he would text message her, asking her to meet him at areas in their residence where closed circuit cameras were not located. He would then summon her to either the laundry room or the garage where there were no cameras. When arriving, he would immediately grab her and began to penetrate her buttercup with his fingers, causing her excruciating pain, and then would proceed to R-word her. Defendant Robinson also forced her into his blue bedroom and made her perform oral. Thereafter, he would proceed to forcibly penetrate her with his pee without using protection. He would enjoy spraying it all over her face.
Smoky.
Much dissatisfaction in her abject humiliation. Defendant Robinson S assaulted her in this manner on at least 23 different occasions. Robinson would threaten her that if she refused to do it to him, he would make his wife be mean to her, which she was very capable of being. Child, this sounds like this needs to be in the criminal court. JD2, the victim too, was unwilling to report Smokey Robinson's unlawful acts to the authorities due to her fear of losing her livelihood, familial reprisal, public embarrassment, shame, and humiliation to her and her family, possible adverse effect on her immigration status. She was an immigrant, as well as being threatened and intimidated by the defendant, as well as the defendant's well-recognized celebrity status and his influential friends and associates. His wife failed to take appropriate corrective action to prevent his deviant misconduct, again, despite having full knowledge of prior acts like this in other cases he settled. Also, Frances Robinson also perpetrated a hostile work environment by regularly screaming at her using racial slurs. Her employment with the defendant, she worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. God damn, Monday through Saturday, at a rate of $10 an hour. Increased to 12 in 2017. Girl, that's illegal. They failed to pay minimum or overtime wages for the hours worked, including those in excess of 8 hours, nor provided rest or lunch breaks. She would often work holidays for the defendants without being paid the hourly rate, and defendants also failed to give her wage statements. All right, the next one, and there's just two more. There's a 3 and a 4.
Hold on,
three
real quick,
began.
I just want to pause
Go ahead.
real quick, Simone. Did I hear you say and that the reason why they're including the wife is because she failed to prevent this from happening after other settlements? So are they alluding
girl.
to the fact that there were other people that they've settled with? Okay. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly. Okay.
Yeah, let me just make sure I read that right too. At the bottom, this bottom paragraph, full knowledge of his prior acts of sex misconduct, having settled cases with other women that suffered and experienced similar acts perpetrated by him. I heard that correctly. You had it right. Okay. All right. Now, number 3, she began working for him as a housekeeper in the same residence February 2012 until April 2024, when she was forced to resign due to his repeated assaults. That's a long time. That's 12 years.
That is a long time.
Robinson repeatedly assaulted, harassed, and AR'd her during most of her time of employment. He would force her into the blue room. He would perform his ritual of exiting his bathroom nude or wearing only his undies after showering, and then carefully placing a towel on the bed not to soil the linens for what was about to occur. Gross. He would then disrobe and orally copulate her. Then he would force her to lie face down on the towel so he could put it in there from the back. Defendant Robinson repeatedly assaulted her in this manner at least 20 times. On one occasion, she resisted his advances, and Robinson offered her $500 to allow him to orally copulate her, an offer she refused. He needed to just pay a prostitute. When not attempting to penetrate her buttercup, defendant Smoky would make unwanted advances against her, touching her boobs, her private, and kissing her on the neck or her mouth. She resigned April 22nd of 2024. Okay, I thought it was the shirt of 2024 due to his continued assault in the hostile environment she experienced daily. She was unwilling to report it for the same reasons as the other ladies. She's also charging that his wife failed to take appropriate corrective action, despite knowing of his knowledge of prior acts. So here's the thing, though. They say knowledge of prior acts, having settled those. That doesn't mean acts with her or any of the other current housekeepers. It just means prior. So that's a distinct difference. Right. If you know he's done this and that person doesn't work there anymore, you may not necessarily think it's also happening with the current staff, especially if he had to pay out a lot of money. You might have thought, well, hopefully this fool done learned his lesson. It says during her employment, she worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, $18 an hour. They failed to pay minimum wage, overtime, excess, or give lunch or rest breaks. She often would work Sundays and holidays without being paid overtime or the holiday rate, and they didn't give her wage statements. Last one. JD victim 4 began working as a housekeeper at the same place, and was defendant Frances Robinson, the wife's personal assistant, cook, and hairdresser, starting in October of 2006 until April 22nd of 2024, when she was forced to resign due to his repeated assaults and harassment. Interestingly, it looks like that's the same last day for the both of them. That's the same. That's interesting. Let me see.
Yeah. They both stopped working at the same time.
That April of 2024. Okay, that's strange. Not strange, but I guess they said we both getting out of here. And I wonder what took so long. Maybe they've been negotiating for this last year. Maybe when Robinson first assaulted her in 2007 when she accompanied him to his Vegas home. While there and alone with him, Robinson forced her into his bedroom and AR'd her. The assaults continued there and other places. In or about mid-2019, she was asked by a defendant to accompany him to his temporary residence in Bell Canyon to clean. While cleaning the master, he showered and returned to his bedroom naked with an erect dangling. He then proceeded to pull back the sheets and carefully placed a towel down, not to soil the linens. Oh, ain't he just a neat freak? Ain't he just a germaphobe? Not to soil the linen.
Does he have OCD or something?
Right. Then he kissed her boobs and neck and orally tried to help her out. He would often create a situation or seize the opportunity where he would be alone with her at the Chatsworth residence. When the other housekeepers would leave the residence, he would summon her to his blue bedroom while sitting naked on the bed. He would then lock the door and place that damn towel on the bed, that little nasty towel. After doing so, he'd pull off her clothes and, against her protestations, push her down on the bed and proceed to R her. He never used protection during the assaults and would jizz into her body or all over her body to his satisfaction and her humiliation. He would constantly admire and touch her boobs, kiss her neck, and force mouth kiss her. His harassment and assaults continued until the very day she decided to resign. She was unwilling to report it for the same reasons as the others. She claims Frances Robinson also didn't take the corrective action and perpetrated a hostile work environment. She worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. Bless her little heart. Okay, so some of them were overlap. 10 days a week at $15 an hour, which was raised to $20 and $18, and they failed to pay overtime, et cetera, or breaks, or give her wage statements. Y'all, so those are the claims. Negligence, battery. Who is the lawyer? Let's see. It better not be.
A lot going on.
It better not be
Black Brown or Busby or Ariel.
Okay. Oh, what they're asking for is $50 million. They want $50 million. Oh, $50 million. Maybe this is Tony Busby. Hold on. Let's go to last page. No, Harrison Hayden.
Who is this?
Harrison Hayden. Woo, y'all. Hit those likes, y'all. We gotta get those likes up. Hit that like. If the blue bedroom wall on top, Anita just said.
Right. What is up with this blue bedroom situation?
He looks disgusting. He looks gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that is the Smokey Robinson case. Girl, that is wow.
See, this is why we don't need Alice and stuff like this for the seniors. He don't need that. That's probably what had this man running around poking people like that. Running around. Remember back in the day when you what was her name? Anna Nicole Smith.
For a long time.
Yeah. Like Anna Nicole Smith, she got with that 90-year-old man. They married and he croaked days later. She didn't have to do it to him at all because we didn't have those kind of drugs back then. Now you got those drugs and you just got to do it to him to the end of time until they're in a casket. Yeah, she could have gotten, did they get someone asked to get pregnant or get an STD? He definitely looked like he could pass an STD. That's a good question. Yes, Smokey Robinson, y'all. Smokey not Smokey for Friday, Smokey Robinson.
Yeah, Smokey Robinson. 85-year-old Motown legend Smokey Robinson. I mean, remember his last album was called Gasms, and the whole album was about sex. You remember that?
You are right. And everybody was grossed out because we felt it was so unnecessary.
Right, I'm talking about the playlist. Yes. And him grinding on stage. Like, I mean, I'm not saying it's true, C Breezy. I am not condemning this man, but we just talking. We just talking.
Yeah, I need to see. I want to know, Okay, so based on the salary that these women were making, I absolutely believe that they were immigrants and they were probably terribly fearful, especially like depending on where you are in your immigration status. One, they could have been illegal, we don't know. Or two, it could have been pending. And with pending immigration status, if you have any run-ins with the law, like as an attorney, I've had so many people that were actual victims that were fearful of even reporting things because they're like, well, what if they change it on me? Or, what if I get investigated? What if I don't get approved for citizenship? So that's how come one of the ways that even if you're here illegally, if you're dealing with domestic violence, if your partner has abused you, it actually can be, it's one of the few routes to citizenship because of the fact that what men were doing is they would abuse an immigrant woman, and these women were dying because they were too frightened to go to the courthouse, show up, or even tell the police. So now that is a exception to the rule. We'll see what happens with Trump, but
right.
Yeah.
And let me say this too. And I mean, again, not to get political, but I will. And I'm not saying that this means that he's guilty. I'm not saying that either.
Right.
But in this current climate, for them to be immigrants and to put themselves in a situation where the spotlight is on them, I'm not saying that means he's guilty, you guys. But what I am saying is they are putting themselves, if they are here illegally, or even if they're, like you said, if they're legal, but they still, were immigrants at one point, they're still
and
putting
it's not
a big
final
old target on themselves. Yeah. So again, I'm not saying that means he's guilty. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that does make me put a little validity in the conversation a little bit. Again, not saying that,
Yeah.
I don't mean they did it. I ain't saying that. But in this current climate, to put yourself, if he was able to use that as according to them, if he was able to use that as a tool against them, that makes me think that there was some legitimate fear.
So wait, say that part again.
Interesting that they quit on the same day, and I do find it interesting that they knew about other settlements, alleged settlements, because we don't know if that's true.
The lawyer might have known about it. Okay. Yeah, the lawyer might have known about the settlements, but that doesn't mean that the plaintiffs did. But also, I could see both of the ladies quitting on the same day if they were each other's support system, and if they were going to be the only one left, the other one would have been the only housekeeper left. She would have been like, oh no, now I'm going to be the sole target. Previously, when you were here, at least half the time he'd harass you, half me. But now it's just me. I can't do it. Gasms.
Yeah. All of those things are points to think about. Yeah. All of those things. And again, that does not mean that doesn't automatically make him innocent or guilty for that matter. It's just an interesting thought to think about. Part of it. All of those are just elements that add up to what it is. Now, it'll be interesting to see if this ends up getting settled. I mean, not for $50 million, but it is interesting to see if it does end up getting settled. Because one thing I found, Simone, on my channel, we cover a lot of these cases when they first hit the stands, but I don't follow them all the way through, right? We talk about it when they hit the blogs, and if more information comes out, we keep talking about it. But for the most part, a lot of these cases end up getting settled, and we never hear from them again. So
yeah, this is one that needs to get settled if it happens. Yeah. If it happened, this is one that needs to get settled. Make it go away. I would be very curious how long the parties were negotiating prior to filing this lawsuit. Because I could see him being an old, I could see him being an old man being like, hell no, I ain't about to give you shit. File your damn lawsuit. At his age, he ain't got nothing to lose. Like, he ain't got no endorsement.
Especially if he's been getting and especially if he's been getting away with it. I ain't saying he's guilty, but let's walk down this road for a minute. Right. Just walk with me. Especially if he's been getting away with this behavior. If there are settlements in the past where he was able to just write a check. I mean, this man has been a star since his teenage years. He's 85 now. I'm not saying that he did any of this. I'm just saying that for the large majority of his life, women have been throwing themselves at him. And he probably has got, at the very least, he's probably gotten, we know he's a woman. We know he's a womanizer because that's been documented that he cheated on his first wife. He had an affair with Diana Ross. We know that things have been documented about him, at least on that level. So if he's used to getting away with it and women throwing themselves, I mean, who knows?
Right. Well, I enjoyed this. Woo, this is a lot of law. I'm gonna try to come back on later tonight and do a recap of Diddy Day 1 and 2. No, it's no problem.
Simone,
I enjoyed
people.
it.
I think. Thank you so much, and I thank y'all for being here. And please, you guys, for all of my tribe members, if you guys are not already subscribed to Simone Girl Is That Legal, please make sure you guys are over there subscribing to Girl Is That Legal. She has a seminar coming up where she is going to be talking about people who are interested in being non-traditional students but going to law school. She's going to give you guys some great information. Also, she is available for consultations in any of the 50 states, just because you don't live where she lives, because if she can't help you, she will find somebody who can. Okay. Correct. So you guys make sure you guys are. And then of course she is bringing you hot topics. She does collabs with what's my girl?
Oh, Jessie Woo. We do background checks. That's every Friday now. We moved it to Friday.
Right. She does. And she does the background check. She also has a book on Amazon that you guys can order. Can order about background checks for dummies. That ain't what it's called, but that's basically what it is.
Yeah, it's basically you go to my website.
Exactly. How to do your background check. Yeah, I know y'all out here in these streets meeting people, and you want to know if they are who they say they are before you go any deeper and dating them. But her background check stories are hilarious. And Simone is funny. If y'all don't know that Simone is funny, okay? So y'all make sure y'all are subscribed to her. And if any of Simone's people on her side, you guys come on over to Really BTV. We do celebrity news and gossip over there. We do hit, whatever's in the blogs, y'all. We talk about it. We talk about it over there. So y'all come on over and we'll be back. We're going to do this. We're going to try to get back to doing this.
More regularly, at least once a month.
Yes, because with this Diddy trial, I think once it gets started, baby, it's gonna heat up. So she's gonna come back later on, or try to come back later on and give you guys a more. Thank you so much, Tarsha. Thank you.
Love you guys.
She's gonna come back later on and give you guys a more in-depth breakdown on day 2 of the Diddy trial. You know, she was getting text messages from people and stuff, so she's gonna give y'all some good stuff. And we'll be back in a little bit. And I will see you guys later. Thank you so much. Anything else you want to let the people know, Simone?
No. Just check me out, SimoneRedwine.com. You can sign up for a consultation. You can sign up for my free webinar. You're not too old to go to law school. And you can also get my book, which is an ebook, $19.99 on the website. Y'all take care. Bye, y'all. Girl, is that legal? All right.
All right. Talk to y'all later.